Of course, one of the people on the beach last Sunday was the ANC Western Cape Secretary, but he even told us earlier that he's there in his capacity as a black person, somebody who was kicked off a beach decades ago in South Africa. So this is not necessarily an ANC event, but friends coming together and organising this picnic. Nzinga Nqunta is live for us, and she's going to be speaking about what happened yesterday with a Sangoma. Nzinga.
Indeed, Francis, and we just want to keep on getting our viewers a proper context as in what happened in Clifton. I'm joined by a third generation Clifton dweller. Michael, thanks so much for your time on SABC News. What's your version of what happened here and what's happening today and yesterday?
Can I start by saying I think it's almost an irony that Clifton throughout the struggle years was the seat of liberalism along here, many ANC supporters and so forth, and since then all that's changed is a lot of foreigners have bought in from foreign countries, so it's a very liberal area. What had occurred, unfortunately, was leading up to the summer over several weeks was quite a lot of drunkenness on the beach, and it culminated on a particular day when about 15 Metro and SABC vehicles showed up here on the parking lot. They descended onto the beach, but they were too frightened to approach the crowd. The crowd was really out of hand. There'd been an attempted rape, there had been a stabbing, and there were knife fights going on. And they asked PPA, the security company, to assist them to evict the beach, the whole beach. They never went up to any particular person and said, you can stay or you have to go. They took everybody off the beach, which I don't know much about security, but I think that's what you have to do when there's a riotous situation. So I think, unfortunately, that's been taken out of context and blown up. That said, I think it's a wonderful thing that people are expressing themselves and coming down. If the facts can get out there and people can come down and join and express themselves, then we do that. Me personally, I don't think it's a good idea to sacrifice an animal, because that does alienate a lot of the Western world, who are the allies of the struggle and of transformation. So I don't know. I don't think that's a particularly good PR ploy. But if people must do it, then do it. But there might be consequences just because the world doesn't view that in a good way.
So what the people who were here yesterday were saying is that they have a right to be here,
yes.
and this is how they are doing things, and Clifton is almost an enclave of whiteness, and the removal of the people from the beach almost reiterated that it made people angry. Do you understand the anger of people, and do you understand why people are coming out in their numbers to Clifton?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I do. Because it isn't, for 25 years now, anybody could come down to Clifton at any time of day, as many as they wanted. There's never been a problem. So the problem is lawlessness, but I think that people should come. On that particular day, I was sitting on First Beach, and all around me were people of different races, and there wasn't a problem in the world. Everybody was happy, but there was a problem here because there was alcohol involved, and it's as a neighbourhood, we'd been begging the city to start enforcing the liquor laws on the beach, because that's where the problem was. But that people are down here, I understand the anger, absolutely, and it's good that people express themselves.
So another issue that was raised by some Clifton residents who wouldn't speak to me on camera is that both South African Police Service and the Metro Police in Cape Town are inadequate. Those are the words that they used, and they are incapable of enforcing any type of security, which is why private security is brought in. But there's also confusion around why PPA was busy enforcing laws that they shouldn't have been enforced. Can you give us some context and understanding there?
Well, the lead photograph of a PPA man striding down the beach with khaki pants on, and you'll see just behind him another PPA man with khakis on, and all around them are 20 SAPs and law enforcement officers, has been blown out of context. That's proof positive that it was not PPA renegade. It was done alongside of with the law enforcement and with SAPs. And there must be 30 or 40 steps that come down onto Clifton beaches. It's a rabbit warren of places, and residents are being held up on the stairs to their houses, and ordinary citizens and visitors are being held up at knife point. So something has to be done, certainly around the houses, and they were just then asked to come down and assist the police, which they did.
And you are here at the beach. Are you taking part in the protest? Are you observing? You are seeing what's happening?
I'm well dressed for it, and I'm down and having fun. I mean, I'm smiling at people. Everybody's happy.
Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. Michael is a Clifton resident. He wanted to also speak to us because saying that issues are getting confused and that this is the refrain that we have heard, Francis, that there was a lot of crime that was taking place in Clifton. Someone said to me in the 2 months leading up to December, there was an increased incident of crime, and that's why this private company was brought in. Obviously, it's not okay that they were doing work that the police and Metro Police were supposed to be doing, but there seems to be a justification in some quarters about why private security was called on. But an incident that really caught a lot of attention yesterday was the slaughtering of a sheep on the beach. There were mixed views. Animal rights activists were here saying it was cruel and they didn't want people to do it. Some people were saying they are cleansing the spirit of racism in Clifton by slaughtering that and by spilling blood. For more on this, I'm joined by Zuko, who is a Sangoma. He's going to speak to us about rituals. If I can ask you to come in. Thanks so much for your time on SABC News. What happened yesterday with the sheep being slaughtered and what does it mean?
All right, our people need healing from the trauma that is racism, and I think the intention behind the slaughtering of the sheep is to heal and to dispel all the bad evil which includes racism. So I think when the people came to slaughter the sheep, as they were saying, is that they came here to invoke the spirits of ancestors who can assist in dispelling the racism and evil spirits.
There was a complaint that perhaps people were doing it in too short a space of time and that proper steps and processes weren't followed, and even that a sheep is not the right animal to use. What's your response to that?
Yeah. Rituals are done by people who know how to conduct them, and of course there is a way of doing rituals, and especially if you are coming to the beach, which we regard as a very sacred place in our practice when they're called. So the sheep may not necessarily be the right animal, but the people found they were too excited. They found what they thought will help them in their cause. But yes, how they did it was wrong. The way that they burned in paper and the way that they took the sheep to the sea, and they were like, after they lit in paper, they were like, viva, viva. There's a way of doing things, and the way that, even though I understand the intent and the cause, the way that they did it was wrong, because you will invoke the spirits. Then who will appease them after classes izile ngibana uthetha nazo ngibana uzithobalalisa azichazela uba all right, we are here, we are gathered, sinale ngxaki and sinibizela yona. None of that was done. And I heard a name was mentioned, which was they were going to invoke the spirit of Makhanda Kanxele, who was a Sangoma as well. There are processes that are followed when you are going to invoke a spirit of such person. And you know, by the sea, there are people who drowned here, whose spirits were never fetched by their families. There are still roaming spirits who are looking for chances of like rituals ezinje eziphelele emoyeni, and who's going to ensure the safety and security of people once those spirits are let loose.
So what happens or what should be done in order to correct those things that you've mentioned?
I am not against the sheep being slaughtered. I think slaughtering sheep and appeasing the ancestors has always been the refuge of our people. It's where we run to. If they just slaughtered the sheep without saying that, okay, sizelele nto sizoyixhela for uba invoke the spirits, I don't. Now what can be done is doing things the right way, because the atmosphere for me is just tense, because there's lots of instabilities in the air after what has been done here. So to correct it, I think healing from racism will need for us as a collective, not just for certain people coming into the sea and doing it on behalf of the nation, because bazawuqala ngaphi.
There's also a school of thought that says it's not so much about the ritual and the correctness, it's about asserting that as an African, I slaughter, this is what I do, and I can do it in a place that's not confined to a township, that's not confined to a village. I can do it in a place that appears very Eurocentric, that appears to be an enclave of whiteness, as I said earlier on, and that in itself is symbolic, and that should just be okay.
That should be okay by all means, but don't call it something else. Don't call it invoking spirits. Don't burn in paper. Slaughter by all means, because slaughtering an animal is symbolic in itself. But yeah, ungayixhela igusha uba izawutyiwa and ayithethe. But now if you're going to put a meaning behind it, do it the proper way and follow the whole process. Because if uyeka phakathi, then that genye ingxaki oyizisa ngaphezu kwalena.
Is there a way that the people who were slaughtering yesterday, there's different ways of ritual and performing them and correctness according to different cultures, different traditions. So you may not view it as the correct way, but is there a way for someone else who views that was the correct thing to do? And I'm asking that because there was also a question about slaughtering and protesting at the same time. So writing slogans on the body of the sheep.
Well, for me, it wasn't really a ritual where we people like of the cult, when we do a cleansing, where we follow a certain way. But if people want to protest by using animals to slaughtering into yethu singabantu abamnyama sizoyixhela igusha ifuneka ixheliwe, but follow the right process. And bekugcwele abantu abaninzi odlamini obani, of which each clan, each tribe has its own way of doing the same ritual, and it's never done the same way.
How do we balance living in 2018, people following certain traditions, people having different spiritual ways of doing things, and even someone saying, how can perhaps the Sangoma be on television speaking about what's the right thing to do and what's the wrong thing? How do you balance all of that?
We just need to adapt to the times that we are living in, and if we are going to do things, we need to research them and do them the proper way without offending, or I don't think there's really a way where you can escape angering certain groups of people, because you'll be doing your own. A ritual can be conducted the right way, but you'll have your animal rights activists coming down on you. So we just need to find, I don't think we'll ever find a balance, but whatever you do, just do it the right way. I suppose that's the only thing that we can do. If it's a ritual in the right, then animal activists, if it's in then they can follow their due process in laying complaints and whatever.
You earlier spoke about how, as a collective, if there was a need to do a ceremony in order to do things properly, we need to do things collectively. People always joke, and I think increasingly the joke is not that funny, that South Africa needs a cleansing ceremony because we are facing the same issues of race relations, of tension, of things like this. Do we need a collective ceremony in South Africa, and how would that be done?
Cleansing is needed because a lot has happened due to racism. We have lost loved ones. People have died. People have been killed. People have been detained. Evil just took over illness. So yes, I think a cleansing can be done. It's just getting around doing cleansing, because doing cleansing for a family is just like a lot of process, just channeling all that energy. Now imagine having all of that energy together, and who will be doing the conduct, and who will be doing the speaking and stuff. So yeah, some things are just not realistic, but if we speak in thinking that we need a cleansing, of course we need a cleansing to heal. Racism is traumatic in so many ways, in workplaces, in public spaces like this, in just all aspects of life. And yeah, it was it's overdue what happened here, and I have nothing against my people protesting and using animals to protest, because Old Clela has always been our things. But if you are going to go there, just go the right route.
Thank you so much for your time on SABC News this evening. Zuko Sangoma was saying there is nothing wrong with slaughtering animals. It's a way that African people have always communicated with their ancestors, but then proper and due process should be followed. It's a conversation that we're going to keep on having. We're going to keep on hearing from different people who are involved in this Clifton 4th saga, Occupy Clifton, Reclaim Clifton. It's back to you in studio for now, Francis.
Thanks, Nzinga, and we'll hear more from the Institute of Race Relations shortly. First, let's look at some news from other parts of the country. Thousands